Welcome to Soulful Conversations with Najeda. I'm Najeda Shaputo. I'm an empowerment coach, spiritual teacher, and speaker. I empower purpose driven women coaches and finding their message, embracing themselves, finding their niche so they can book their dream clients. I am so excited today about my guest. My guest today is a fellow Haitian American woman like me, Nadine Duplessy Kearns. Nadine is a dynamic social sector leader who is committed to doing work that empowers and equips low income students and their families to live their best life. By nature, a community builder, she values connecting with people and building strong relationships. Thank you for joining me today, Nadine. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. This is actually my first podcast, so I'm very excited that you invited me to do this.
You're welcome. And I was really inspired to invite you because I'm really looking to bring in women that I find are very inspiring or empowered. And when I lived in DC, I saw what you had done with the Haitian Women's Brunch, and I know you're involved in so many other things. So you were one of the ones on my list that to reach out to. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your life journey?
Sure. So I was born and grew up in Haiti. Spent the first few years of my life in a really close family, as part of a really close family, primarily with a lot of women. So I had a lot of aunts, very close to my grandmother, and also attended an all-girls Catholic school, um, which
Me too.
formed just my strong affinity to being where women gather. When I moved to the U.S., we settled in Boston, in Massachusetts, and quickly we were part of a strong Haitian community in Boston.
Mhm.
So, of course, I moved there. I was young, did my schooling in terms of middle school and high school in the Boston public school system. Stayed pretty much educated in Boston from the fifth grade all the way through graduate school. Those were really influential years in terms of getting the skill sets and the exposure to opportunities and really figuring out what it is that I wanted to do in life. What brought me to DC is I had studied at Harvard, studied at Fletcher, at Tufts University, and really became interested in how countries develop and what conditions needed to be present for communities to become self-sufficient and thrive. So I had an opportunity to move to the DC area and do work with a woman-owned consulting firm doing development projects in West Africa. So I took that role and I moved here in 2000, and I'm still here in DC. So a number of years working for that firm and had an opportunity to travel across primarily West Africa, and then made a career shift to education, which is what I've been doing for the past 11 years, working in education settings and organizations, directly serving students, families, and communities.
Great, that's awesome. That's good. So tell us, I know once we were talking, you and I, well, I think it was a few weeks ago, where we were saying, because we're both in our 40s, and we often find ourselves in settings with entrepreneurs or other people, and they're like millennials, and we're like the only ones in our 40s many times. And we were talking about what's the experience like? What are your thoughts on that? What would you want to say about that?
I think I brought that up because I'm inspired by the fact that these dynamic women are able to do a lot and are more bold in taking risk and able to do things that previously, for my generation, for folks who grew up, we were taught to follow a much more traditional path. You went to college, you work, maybe you went straight to graduate school, and you were encouraged to really find more stability and structure, and to have a career that you stayed in. And I'm finding that women in their 30s and 20s are able to much more blend the lines between personal and professional, and able to take some risk, and are much more entrepreneurial in terms of starting their own ventures, and are much more active and engaged, and their public brands and identities, and taking advantage of what technology offers. I think that this is something that we are not the digital generation, but we are very much immersed in how to use technology in our own sort of structured lives. And I think that's something that when I'm in settings where, I'm the oldest person on a panel, I've been asked to engage with women who are younger than myself, I notice that there's something about them, their energy inspires me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I know for myself, I completely can relate to what you're saying, because in some way, like, I know for me, I started my business. I mean, I'm 42 now. I wasn't in my 40s yet, but it is definitely especially in the online world, which is where I really tend to spend more time. And I noticed that a lot of the people, even some of my mentors and coaches, are younger than me, and I do notice that. I mean, I do see people who are the same age as me and people who are a little bit older, but definitely when you were saying that, when we talked, I was like, oh yeah, I completely get it, because I do notice it. And it is very true, and I think I know for myself, because I've done sort of both,
Mm-hmm.
and I can totally see how it is it's not the traditional thing, because even when I look at, when I think about my family and other people, the way they respond at times to what I'm doing, it's sort of like, what is she doing? Because like you said, you're taking risks, you're doing things that, because, we were raised to go to school, get your degree, get a job. And many times, and I know it's something that is changing in a way, is that before, people would spend 25 years, 30 years in a job and retire from there and then be done. Where now people are switching jobs, and then people are starting their own business. So totally different dynamics. Yeah. So what would you say to, like, are you, because I know you have your own nonprofit or something too, right? Or
I have my own consulting practice.
okay.
So I am an entrepreneur, because I
Mhm,
work for myself. So
mhm.
I've taken that step. So this is the world that I live in now.
Yeah. So yes, what would you say, being an entrepreneur yourself, and you've also done the other traditional things, and what would you say that you've learned from these millennial entrepreneurs, and also what would be your advice to them?
I think having started my career in large and small organizations that are much more formal, and then now being acting as an entrepreneur and having to promote and engage and do business development and reach out and promote myself. What I've learned from the millennials is how they're much more active and easy. It comes easier to them to be able to navigate multiple platforms. They're able to use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, you name it, able to really have this seamless identity on all these platforms. At
Mm-hmm.
the same time, what I'm able to teach them is to also pay attention to and nurture these traditional ways of engaging with people. So really making sure that their LinkedIn profile is dynamic and professional. It's really, your LinkedIn profile is your resume these days. And then at the same time, the importance of having these face-to-face engagement and interactions, sort of like, I tell people all the time that we're still, in terms of Gen X, which is my generation, I'm 43, we understand the need to do these formal thank you notes and picking up the phone and calling people as opposed to reaching out to them via social media. So we're able to say these things are still important when you're trying to connect and build relationships with us or with the baby boomers. So you have to be able to navigate both.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely. I think it's definitely the part of what you're saying about the communication thing, because it is very true. We've really gotten this stage where many times, like kids nowadays are texting each other they're next to each other instead of talking to each other. So I really love that, because in some way, our partnerships and our relationships, our collaborations can be even more meaningful when we really take the time to, like you said, pick up the phone and not just be contacting people on social media only or something. So I really, really love that. So I'd like to know, I know for you, empowering young people is something that is very important. And I know it's part of your work, especially in the area of education. How did you get into this? Like, how did this become very important for you?
I think I'd always done community service. Even in college, I was involved with um, shaping the work that we did as part of the Haitian Student Alliance at Harvard. And we decided as soon as we were able to formalize our structure that we would do community service and engage with area high school students. So we had a tutoring program, and we also became resources for them when it was time to do their college applications and helping them to understand what they needed to do to be strong applicants. So it started then. And I also, while I was in Boston, I served as a big sister to a student from my high school, a young lady I was matched with that we worked, we were sort of like just a little sister, and helped to connect her to opportunities and sort of helping her to figure out what it is that she wanted to do. And so I think that started then. So when I moved to DC, I became really active with working on the Harvard Club of Washington, D.C. Schools Committee. And our mission, which I'm still involved with them, is to do outreach to local area high schools and community-based organizations and help empower students and help them to understand what they need to do to be competitive in the college application process, and also helping them to think beyond sort of existing paths that they've thought for themselves. So we've done a lot of work, attending college fairs, speaking on panels about what it's like to attend a selective institution. And so that's something that I've just been committed to for a number of years. So I've continued doing that as part of my leadership and volunteer work. I really enjoy doing local alumni interviews. Harvard still interviews everybody who applies, or at least they're committed to doing that. So I enjoy meeting with high school students that have applied and getting to know them and helping them understand a little bit more about what Harvard has to offer, or just in general what the college experience will be. So that's how I got involved with doing work and with particularly middle and high school students and their parents about the college application process.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So I'm curious now. I know one of your things is like the Haitian Ladies Brunch, which you started. I know it was very tiny, but it's gotten so big. What, 350 women or something now?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, how did that start for you, and why did you start it?
So yeah, it really did start small. I started when I moved to the DC area from Boston. I wasn't plugged in to existing Haitian associations or communities. And so I needed to find that for myself. So I ended up connecting. The first organization that I connected with was Association of Haitian Professionals. It was that they're still active and engaged today and have a wonderful platform. However, it's not primarily, it's men and women and people of all ages. So how the Haitian Ladies Brunch started was my need to connect with women closer to my age group. And so I started out with just the Haitian women whom I knew personally, 5 to 7 of us just getting together on an intentional basis to talk and engage and build relationships. And so that's really how it got started and progressively grew larger and larger. And until 2010, I sought out to try to figure out if we could even grow beyond people that I knew personally. So we set a goal to attract and invite other women. And that was our first sort of public event because it went beyond the people that I knew personally. So people were able to invite other people and sign up to attend. And we gathered and had brunch, and we were about 50 women the first time that it was public. So we went from like 11 to 50 the next year. And then it sort of progressively grew until we developed a really great relationship and connection with the Embassy of Haiti and became a key partner in hosting the event. So it moved to the Embassy of Haiti, where it still continues to happen every year in the fall, bringing together now close to 300 women. And it's moved, people attend who are not just living here in the DC area. So it's a great way to be able to connect women from around the country who come in and are able to make professional connections as well as personal connections and carry on these conversations that they've started at the brunch to perhaps becoming friends. In fact, the host committee that I'm working with now to plan 2017, we primarily really met at the brunch. I didn't know them before.
Oh, wow. Okay.
With the exception of one person, we all met through that platform. So it's a great way for women to connect, who want to do things together.
Great. No, definitely. And are you planning it? I guess there's a certain limit, right? Because
yes,
are you just gonna find a bigger place?
Well, I think it's two things. We are, stay tuned for more information, but we really are working to do two things. One is to get deeper. So looking at ways for us to have smaller gatherings where people are able to have longer conversations and much more connections with each other. And at the same time, looking at ways for us to get bigger in terms of building a network that is intentionally national, that are looking at the issues that are important to us, and how can we have an impact on particularly the younger generation and young women who are following us. So we want to go both ways, deeper in terms of smaller gatherings and convenings, as well as larger impact.
Definitely. So I'm curious now, what would you say, what are your thoughts on empowerment, specifically empowering women?
I think that it does take time in terms of, as women, for us to really feel comfortable in our own, with who we are, and feel that we we really just accept who we are. We focus on our strengths instead of our weaknesses and punishing ourselves for them. And also that we approach things in a way that we are very confident that we bring a certain perspective and a certain insights that are valuable to whatever the conversation is that the concerns are. So I think that's sort of like ideal. It's a work in progress. No one's going to get up and say, from now on, I am empowered 100% all the time. But it's a mindset of thinking about, I am who I am. I am strong in these areas. I have something to say that matters to the issues and the conversations of today. And that's where I will focus my energy on the things that I can control, the things that where I can affect change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very true. What would you say? What are your thoughts on? Do you believe that everyone has a life purpose? If you do you have you found yours? And if you have found it, would you mind sharing it with us?
Sure. I mean, I think that people may have multiple purposes, and it may shift in terms of there's certain times in your life you find yourself working with an organization where it becomes clear to you, oh, well, my purpose is to help them rebuild. My purpose is to help them figure out a new strategy. My purpose is this. But at my core, I do believe that all the things that I've done have been to connect, build community, and inspire people to take action and make people feel that they can accomplish things that they hadn't thought previously possible. In a concrete way, I think a lot of what I enjoy working with middle and high school youth is that their future is yet to be. And so there's so much that they can do. So I want to be part of helping them to discover their own purpose and their own strengths and their own opportunities so that they go on to live really amazing purpose-filled lives that they feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's sort of like a bigger purpose, but at any given time you may be called to do things that have smaller purposes, like maybe the purpose of my day to day is to do this, but overall I do think that's sort of like my bigger life purpose that I try to connect and tap into. So whenever I do work or service that's connected to that, I approach it with a different level of energy and excitement. That's when I know I'm doing something that's on purpose.
Definitely. No, definitely. And the thing is that I love the fact that, working with the younger generation, with the young children, because they are the future.
Mm-hmm.
They really are the future. So that is so, so important. Now, what would you say the world needs more of? And if it had more of it, it would make a huge difference in the world.
I think people, just joy and optimism and love and those things that are and can be enduring and longer lasting that allow you to get through darker times.
Mm-hmm.
Those are often things that you find just when you are at your darkest or you're in your situation where things aren't going really well, that you need to tap into a sense of joy and purpose and optimism. So I think people really are in need of just some light. There seems to be a need for more of that. Not to say that everything will be great and it's easy, but to be able to tap into that and having people be able to act coming from that point of view is something that I believe the world needs more of.
Definitely, definitely, because like you said, I don't think it's gonna be like, okay, it's gonna be easy, it's gonna be smooth sailing,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely it would make a difference. So I completely agree with you. So now I'm curious for you regarding what would be like, would you have something to say to I know you talked about for us well, I'm not a millennial, but those who are millennials and entrepreneurs, um, I know you talked about what you learned from them, what you would give. Is there anything else that you would say that you have experienced, and maybe even something that actually surprised you?
I think that I do end up having more conversations about how to build healthy, love relationships with, having these conversations with younger people. That's always surprising. It's not surprising in that that's what people are interested in talking about, but I do have, perspective and experience, sort of have thought through, like, what does it mean to be in a loving, healthy relationship with somebody else and retain your own person, who you are. And I think that it's, things have shifted probably since I, was early in my 20s to where I am now. The way people go on to look for a life partner, figure out how to build this kind of relationships, how do you navigate all of that, and at the same time, retain your own sense of self and caring for, caring for the other person, caring for children. I have kids, caring for your parents. So I think that there's still some questioning and sort of a hunger to learn how that happens. I end up, having conversations with people asking about dating advice or like marriage advice. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I had to just kind of plod along and learn on my own. But I'm happy and I'm pretty open about sharing, because I figured if people are asking, maybe they see something that, maybe, either by dumb luck, I stumbled upon something that's great, which I'm happy to share. I'm always excited to share about that. I have figured out sort of how to make that work at this particular age, and having, I got married at 26, which is young these days, and have maintained a level of excitement and energy, and just really have a great great marriage. And part of it could be dumb luck, part of it could be sort of how to approach it and how to sustain and how to build a lifelong commitment and how to make that work. And at the same time, I don't use the word balance because it seems to imply that you're always sort of teetering, but just sort of how to integrate and still be who you are. I'm not a sharer. Like, I don't really want to go around talking personally, but if people ask me, I'm happy to talk about it. And I'm always surprised that it gets asked, even in settings where that's not what I'm expecting people to want to talk to me about. So at the last Haitian Ladies Brunch, there was a group of women having this conversation about dating, and I walked by and I said something jokingly, like, oh my God, I should teach a class or something. They're like, would you? I'm like, no, I was joking about it. I just thought, I would just insert myself and just say something funny. But, maybe there's a need for, I don't know, I wouldn't say coaching, because that's not the path that I want to do. But I think people want to have these conversations and these discussions.
Well, I think what I would say is that I think, especially for those of us who are still single, and even like the millennials and women, I think many of us who are still single, whether we're millennials or not, I think that we are in some way wanting to know, like when we see someone who seems, that has a great marriage, that appears to have a great marriage, and says she has a great marriage or whichever, we tend to want to know, okay, how do you do that, And especially, I think I would say in the entrepreneur setting, a lot of us single women, at times, we feel that, can we have both? So I think that's sort of like why I think there is definitely an interest in that, So, well, I know that wasn't the reason that we were going to talk today, but I'm just curious, because my audience are women. What would you say? What would you say? Obviously, I don't want you to be picking up, I don't want you to have to say, whatever you feel, but I'm just curious, what would you say? How do you be and build? How do you create? Because obviously you can't just be in it. You have to create it, and you work at it all the time. Be in a healthy and loving relationship and be who you are. Remain, like you said, remain remain your own person and who you are. What would you say to that? Because I think many of us are asking that.
Yeah, I think part of it is coming into it, having a level of self-awareness and commitment to working on your own issues and solving your own problems. Is to me was important, so that people say, don't bring baggage. I don't want to use the word baggage, because that trivializes that some of us probably went through some serious hurt and trauma and loss and betrayal and some really serious things. But to the extent that you can work on your own to identify what it is about those situations, what you've learned, what role you played in it, what could you do differently next time, and coming into it with that and being responsible for your own happiness, I think is important, because I think going into any sort of relationship where the other is supposed to complete you 100% or make you feel in kind of way is it's not fair to the other person. So you have to own your own growth and your own development and your own happiness and come to it that way. And I think that makes it a better way, where if two people, happen to be starting a relationship and they've each individually done the work that they need to do to know who they are, what they want, and what issues they have that can creep into a relationship, being aware of them and owning them and being responsible for solving them. The person can be supportive, but nobody can do the work for you and do it for you. So I think, it's still important, no matter how you're able to connect with people, whether it's online dating, somebody introduces you, like those things, I don't think have changed. Like, you're responsible for your own happiness, and coming to it with that understanding and perspective is really important, I think. And then in terms of sort of like how life is busy and there's a lot happening, how do you sort of like maintain your sanity and who you are? And I think part of it is, I remember that even when I was in college, like I had this, it wasn't a rule, but I really held tight to, I didn't study Friday nights. I felt like it was my day to like veg out, read magazines, watch a movie, and I held tight to that. So it's sort of like, how do you create space where those are the days where I recharge and I do what I want to do, and then sort of in hanging on to that, even when you're dating somebody, there are times where you just need to just have time to yourself to kind of spend time with yourself and being really comfortable being alone. I mean, I think part of that could be really scary, but how are you comfortable being alone before you get attached to somebody else? I think makes it you much more likely to not be to not place over some obligations on the other person to make you happy, make you have a great day, those kinds of things, like finding ways for you to own your own mood and how you feel. Anyway, I'll stop there because I could talk forever about that.
Maybe you'll need to come back so we can talk about that more. But no, but I really love what you said. Are you sure you don't want to coach on that? No, but really.
No, I just go around giving free advice to people who ask.
No, because you know what? As you were talking, I was like, wow, like, I can really tell. I mean, I am single, so, but just really hearing you speak, because I've done a lot of work in myself. I have a spiritual practice and I've done a lot of self-love, and, I'm still doing. And I was just like, I completely resonated so much with what you were saying. Obviously, like probably like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I wasn't there at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because definitely, and I do think it's so important what you said, because I think a lot of us do come into a relationship looking for somebody to make us happy, and we're not happy on our own. So I really love that. And I think sometimes too, I like what you shared about how you knew what worked for, like, okay, this Friday night, that's what you did. Even when you were in a relationship, it was you knew, okay, I needed some time on my own as well. And so you can be comfortable being with yourself, because I think, I see it all the time where people get into relationships and they kind of like, they don't have any alone time anymore. It's always with the other person, so, which is not healthy. So thank you for that. So, I want you to tell us a little bit. We're going to be pretty much ending it.
Sure.
Soon. I'd love for you to tell us, tell people more about your work and where they can find out about you.
Sure.
And of course, I mean, I know we're still months away from the Haitian Ladies Brunch, and I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll be attending this year. I
Yay.
think I went twice. Because actually, you know what? I wasn't sure because I moved in 2010. I know it was in 2010. I don't know if it was 2011 or 2012. Somebody mentioned it to me.
Okay.
When was the first year you went public?
2010.
2010. Okay. So I don't know. It was either 2011 or 2012 because I don't think it was 2010 because I was
Okay.
still like, I didn't know that many people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't make it, but I made it to the 2013 and 2014, which you had them at the embassy.
Yes.
And I think 2013 was the first time, right?
Yes, at the embassy.
Yeah, and so really, really great event, and I've missed two of them so far since I started attending. But if you just want to tell people more about you and where they can connect with you and more about your work.
Sure. So I'll start with, in terms of all things related to Haitian ladies, because I've enjoyed taking on I'm the Haitian Ladies Brunch lady. So I have an easy Gmail, HaitianLadies@gmail.com. I found that's pretty easy. So I check that very often. So if you're interested in the email list and finding out more activities that we're working on, what we have planned for 2017, so just send me an email. And I do check Instagram, not as consistently as I should.
Follow her on there.
So I'm Haitian Ladies Brunch because that's sort of I got on Instagram right after the last brunch. So that's an easy way to find me as well. But professionally, I have a consulting practice called Access Ed. So my website is accessedgroup.com. And my professional email is Nadine@accessedgroup.com. So that's very easy to find me. So my clients tend to be community-based organizations, schools, and generally in the social sector, nonprofits who are in the education space. So I do fundraising, consulting, as well as general program management and implementation and community and education. So that tends to be, my clients, like who hires me and what is the work that I do. And because I've done a lot of work on college access and success, so I'm often asked to come in and do workshops for students and families about how to navigate the college admissions process and what they need to know. So if you're interested in that, you can always find me at Nadine@accessedgroup.com. So that's the kind of things that I really enjoy doing that.
That's awesome. That is really, really awesome. So thank you so much. I think you'll definitely need to come back.
And be the relationship coach.
And maybe we'll have one closer to the Haitian Ladies Brunch as well. By the way, I mean, I'm just curious because I can't remember. Are we only allowing Haitian women in that?
In the brunch, yeah.
In the brunch. Okay.
And I've got a question, and I feel like that's the general consensus.
Okay, I mean, it does make sense. There's already many.
Yes. There's enough of us to have our own network and our own activities. So
definitely, I completely get that. And like you said, Nadine said we can reach out to her to find out more about other events or even what they have planned for this year. And you don't have a date yet, right?
We're working on potentially fall, October 2017, but we'll send out a save the date.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
so next time. Yeah, so next time, or maybe you'll come and talk about the relationship stuff. Actually, I think, you know what, it would be great. Like, I think more than anything, because it sounds like that's what I heard you say. It's really about self-love, self-empowerment, like really taking care of you, figuring out your own stuff, and then before you get in there.
Yes.
That's what I heard you say, and which is all about empowering women and self-empowerment and self-love, because it's like you have to get yourself ready, take care of you, and then in order to be able to be in a relationship with someone else, each person, you know, takes care of their own stuff and then they can take care of things together. But your stuff is your stuff.
Yes.
So great. So thank you so much, Nadine. This was really great. And I'd be happy to have you on another time and we can talk about another topic that you and I will choose. And thanks you all for joining me. And all her information will be on my website below the video when I share it. And until next time, love and light to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.